ahead and get started with this quick webinar to go over the judging process and some important dates. Thank you guys all for joining. Again, this is Mary Cruz. I also have Tina Myers has joined us, as well as Pat Bellato and Susan Merrigan and Alicia Odell. She is the chair of Chapter President of the Year, and again, Pat Bellato is the chair of this year's Striving for Excellence. Susan Merrigan is incoming chair, and again, Tina Myers is staff liaison along with myself. So the point of this webinar is to go over the judging process. Again, this shouldn't take too long, and we're going to go over some timing. I see that most everybody has joined us. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Okay, just to remind you all, I know that you are probably familiar with who is chairing and the staff and board involved, but I just wanted to make you aware again, if you weren't on the Striving for Excellence webinar that we had back in February with all of the chapters, chapter leaders. So again, Pat Bellato, thank you, has joined us, and she is the chair of SFE. Susan Merrigan is incoming. We have Alicia Odell as the Chapter President of the Year winner last year for 2012. Holly Bolton is our chapter delegate and board liaison, as well as I am the staff liaison, and Tina Myers is also on the call today. So you all should have received an email several weeks ago that covers what section, who the section heads are, and what group you've been assigned to, or what award category that you've been assigned to. We sent out the rosters for both SFE and CPY, and here is a quick glimpse again at the section heads. Thank you so much, section heads, for agreeing to lead those sections, as well as the judges. So if there is any problem at all with what you've been assigned, or you have questions, I believe I've spoken with or heard from everyone, certainly please let me know. If for any reason you feel that there could be a conflict, no problem at all, just let me know. So as of right now, this is the list. I'll be sending this out to you again. Sorry. Okay, and the Chapter President of the Year judges. This is just a quick rundown of, so you can see again who the judges are for CPY and the different chapters represented. So it looks like there's a good representation here. The process. Okay, so the criteria. Everybody has should have received or has seen, I would think by now, the new 2013 criteria for Striving for Excellence. There were significant changes made this year to the criteria. Two of those being, I won't go into all the detail about it because I believe most of you were on the Striving for Excellence call back in February. But certainly if you have any questions about the new social media section, as well as the membership section was broken out of Striving for Excellence, and some of the points and the weight were distributed differently as well. And we added some more emphasis under the leadership and chapter management section. And again, the membership was added in the Striving for Excellence. And then under communications, both communications, a separate category, as well as communications within SFE, we added social media. So again, there were some bullets moved around from last year and some different weights distributed. But other than that, that was really the majority of the changes. But once you've had a chance, if you haven't already gone through the criteria, if you have any questions at all about the changes, or you need some more explanation on a given bullet of what exactly we're looking for when looking at the submittals, we can certainly go through that. And Tina, I'm not sure, I think you're on as a panelist, so I don't see, I was just going to say, anybody, please feel free. We have 16 on the call, and I can unmute you at any time if you have a question. I'm looking for hands raised. You can certainly just click hand raised or type a question in the box, and I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. I'm not sure, Tina, if I can unmute everybody just because there's only 16, but we also have 4 staff. So
you might be able to do that, but I'm not sure as a webinar. I'm not sure if you can do that or not.
Yeah, we may not.
I don't have access to the panel to do it as a panelist.
Okay, no problem. So just again, if any of you have a question at any point through this webinar, this is not a formal presentation here, so you can certainly just chime in at any time and raise your hand, and I'll be watching for that. And we're going to be going over the score sheets that will be updated. I know many of you are familiar with the score sheets already, as you've served on the FFE committee before as a judge. But basically, we take the criteria, and I'm going to bring one up for you. Let me go ahead and just... So the Striving for Excellence score sheet looks like this. Very simple. We just need your chapter name, your name as a judge, and then this just goes through the different criteria that is actually on the criteria, the form that's posted on the website. You'll see this is broken down by the different sections with the different points that can be awarded, possible points, and the points awarded that you'll be looking at. And again, all the different sections are here, and they total 100 points. And there is a section here for notes. So very simple. Tina, do you want to add anything to this, to the scoring sheet?
I'm sorry. No, not well. Just one thing. When Mary sends you a paper copy with your submittals, and I know she'll go over some of this as well, but that's really a better way to use that is for your notes. She's really going to need the Excel spreadsheet from you, though, so she can go ahead and copy and paste when she compiles the information. And all of this should be set up so it's automatically calculated for you, but just make sure when you're in the Excel spreadsheet that the numbers really are coming up to what you expect them to be. That's it, my only thought.
Okay, so this is the overall, again, this is the Striving for Excellence Awards score sheet, and there will be a separate score sheet for each one. So under communications, and I might have, because I just recently was, so obviously this is the education programming score sheet. So they all look very similar. There's one for the different sections of communications and for special event and for programming. And again, it's just basically the criteria broken down with the points, possible points, and the points that you will award, and then your notes. And as Tina said, you can certainly, when looking at it, handwrite your notes, but what I would like submitted is the electronic format, so this sheet with your notes typed up, and just send that to me so that I can compile it. What we'll do is when we receive all of the sheets on the 15th of May, we will compile that all into one for each group so that when we have our call, we will have that up on the screen and we'll discuss all the compiled notes and the compiled points so that we can go through that for each different group.
Mary,
we're
can
going
I
to go
add
through
one
these.
more thing?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sometimes when we get the score sheets back, we don't have any notes from the judges, but it really is important, even if it's not detailed, which is just fine, but it really is important to put some idea behind your scores there. And this is important primarily for those section heads, because they will be the individuals who have to provide a debrief to those who requested and who maybe did not receive an award. And certainly even for the winners if they want a debrief too. But those notes they're going to count on to go back on to figure out like why a given set of points were set like maybe rather than 10 points, maybe it was 5 points. So that's where those notes will come in handy for those section heads. So I just wanted to emphasize that.
Great. Okay. So this is, again, these are just a brief overview of the score sheets. This Chapter President of the Year, again, looks very similar. We just need, we're going through the point systems here. There's an explanation after each point that you'll be looking at, or each set of criteria along with the points. So very simple, and we know that it's a quick turnaround time, but from the time that we receive the submittals, this is the important dates here. Obviously, we're on the call today. This Friday is the deadline for the submittals. So and I just received one today. Yay! Came early.
Ooh,
so by Friday, we should have all of the submittals in house, and they usually do arrive. I know, Tina, the majority come Thursday and Friday all day, so we'll be receiving those and unboxing them and logging them. And then by the 8th, which is the following Monday, we will actually May 3rd is the, okay, so by the 6th, excuse me, we will ship those out. I had this incorrect, but we'll be shipping those out to you on the 6th. We will ship them 2-day UPS so that they will arrive in your hands by the 8th. So you will have, and again, whichever category that you're judging on, you will receive all of the submittals that were sent to us along with a printed copy of the score sheet. And Tina, does anything else go in the package that the judges will receive?
No, normally just, well, just another copy of the criteria just in case you didn't have it handy.
Okay, so we'll print a copy of the criteria along with the score sheet and then the actual submittals. And I know it's crunch time, but we give you a week to go through all of the submittals and then to have the score sheets back to us by the 15th. I know this does fall over Mother's Day weekend, and I apologize for that, but certainly if you need a day or two after the 15th to get your score sheet to me, that should be fine, but we definitely want to shoot for the 15th. And then the following week is the week that we will be conducting all of the conference calls with our go-to-meetings with the individual groups and categories. So the way that I think Tina did it last year is that she opened it up and you guys decided on the call what best dates were for everybody. But I think what I'm going to do is following this call, I'm going to send everybody Doodle. If you're not familiar with Doodle, it's just a quick way to look at a few dates that will work for each group in a time, and whoever based on the response that we get, that will help us to determine which day and time we will be doing the specific call. So programs will be on possibly the 20th at 2, and the next call will be maybe following that later that afternoon. So we'll get those out to you this afternoon so that we can start looking at our schedules and getting the calls already on this, the calendar for the week of the 20th. So at this time, I don't see any questions. If anybody, again, has a question, just go ahead and raise your hand, and I will unmute you. So, Tina, in addition to this, do you want to talk about any possible, this is really all I have, just to go over the score sheets and to go over the dates and what to expect and the timing. And then we're going to end here with Q&A. So if there's any questions, or is there something, Tina, that may come up in the judging process that we might want to address now when they're looking at it, or conflicts of any kind?
Well, there are just a couple of items that you might want to think about. When all of you are scoring, once all your scores are in, as Mary reminded you, you're going to send them to her, and she's going to compile all of them. When all those different sections are compiled, she's going to share those scores with the respective judges. So typically how this works, the chapter or the individual with the greatest score is going to be determined the winner. But it doesn't just end there. The reason why you're even on this call is to have a discussion. Some of you might find that one judge has one score and another judge might have a score that varies greatly. So that's your opportunity to have a discussion and why and what you were looking at. So when Mary has coordinated that call with you and you're on it, she'll have on her screen the final compilation, but she'll be able to quickly modify a score if the team and as judges you decide that that's what you want to do. Again, because you might be thinking about different things and your conversation might bring it to a whole different level. So that's your opportunity to modify. You might find that this is going to go very quickly, you're all in sync, and you don't want to change your scores, and then that's perfectly fine. But just take advantage of the time to talk together to see if there are any anomalies and know that you can change your score on that final judging call. So I think that that's really about it, Mary.
Okay, I have a question. Susan, I'll get to you in a minute, has her hand raised, and I have a quick question from Katie. She asked, is the judging criteria strictly content, or is it grammar and or spelling taken into account?
Well, actually, we might want Pat to talk about this too, but that is really based on the work of of the chapter, what they're trying to tell you, how they can prove it. But I will tell you, and Pat can chime in here, that the judges do take that content, the grammar and the spelling seriously. They look at it almost as though this is a proposal. Would you put together a shoddy proposal? Would you overlook that type of thing? So the criteria is not set up to take away points for that type of thing, but I will tell you judges definitely consider it, and they might modify if it's really bad. So Pat, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, you were right on with what you said. We've because I've been a judge for maybe 10 years, you get very critical, and sometimes you're on the fence between two groups or two chapters, and you decide to take a look at grammar, spelling, how it's formatted, even whether they violated any copyright laws or not. That was a situation last year or the year before. So you'll judge your first one a lot differently than you'll judge your last one. So go back and you might need to go back and rejudge the first one because you were a little more lax and or you were a little more critical. So it all varies.
Right. There's not a steadfast rule.
No
so as a judge, you're just going to determine what is really important to you. And again, this is where that conversation comes into play in the final judging call.
Okay. And Susan, I unmuted you. Go ahead, Susan.
Well, we just had an issue last year where we had one of the judges' scores were really out of whack from everybody else's, but that individual was never available to have a follow-up conference call to discuss it. So it was just kind of problematic because it really affected, obviously, who the winner was and just didn't seem very fair. Are there any rules in place of changing who the judging panel is at some time in the process?
Susan, I remember exactly, and I know exactly what you're talking about. What will happen is if that's a situation this year, and Mary and I haven't actually just talked about this, but we can't allow that to happen again. So if it's just about the scores and there's such a disparity, we're going to have to make sure that there is a conference call and time for that individual to discuss those scores and be able to defend them or explain where they're coming from. I mean, it happens sometimes, and there are judges that just feel not the same as others, but you need to have that opportunity to talk with one another. That wasn't afforded to us last year, so that was the first time ever that, at least while I was doing this, that's happened. So it was just kind of playing it out as it came across to us. But because of that, we can't allow that to happen again. Does that answer your question, Susan?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Sure.
And I don't have any other questions, but Susan or Pat, again, since you've been judges for some time, and if there's any words of wisdom that you can give to the judges, again, I know you've just given some good words for them, food for thought, but if there's anything else?
This is Patty. The only thing I can say is to block out some time and critique it like you would a proposal. I mean, that's probably the best way to look at it. We've refined the criteria so that it is pretty orderly and consistent, and just go through it. We've asked people to follow the instructions carefully, and we've asked them, no more than 10-point font and all this other stuff. We've done this over the years, and I think we've got a really good program right now. Yeah. And the only thing I can suggest is just, try to find the time and don't be distracted by other things, or you're not going to end up, you're going to feel frustrated and not be able to do the right kind of job that you need to do. Because a lot of people take a lot of time. They plan hours and years, or months rather, working on some of these. Other people don't. They slap it together. So, the ones that I've seen recently, or in the last year or two, have been super, and they've put a lot of thought into it. So, we owe them that to try to look at it more objectively than we could.
And regarding Chapter President of the Year, I know with some of the judges, we have from one judge received an email last week about that they know that their chapter was submitting for Chapter President of the Year, and he had been asked to write a letter for that president, a reference letter. And unfortunately, that wouldn't that would be a conflict. So we had said certainly if he felt compelled to write the letter for that person, but he would have to not be able to be a judge if that was the case. I think he was okay with not writing it, and they did find somebody else. But for Chapter President of the Year, if any of you have any questions, you know that your chapter is being submitted, that happens, and obviously it's not a conflict just to be on the to be judging if your chapter submits, but thinking about if you did submit a letter for them, certainly let us know. Is there anything, Tina, you want to add for Chapter President of the Year?
No, but, well, yes, for the point that you just made, if you do find that you are representing or you're a part of a chapter that is submitted, that happens. That happens every year. That is true for Striving for Excellence as well as Chapter President of the Year. So what you need to do, as long as you're not asking or you haven't written a letter or anything like that, as Mary said, is just disclose that you are from that chapter and let the other judges know where you're coming from, because, you know, all of you represent all different chapters, and it would be a shame for you not to participate simply because your chapter is submitting. So we always allow for that participation, but more than anything, just make sure that the rest of the judges know that you're representing that chapter or you're from that chapter. You may not have a part in this at all, but it's still good to simply disclose it. So that's it.
And then lastly, Tina, the only one thing I guess we could talk about just briefly is how the grand prize chapter is selected.
Sure. So for those of you who are scoring for the full Striving for Excellence for all the different size chapters, ultimately what you will be determining are the first place winners, and you will be determining maybe some outstanding chapters if this is what you want to do. So you'll have an option to do that. The first place winners, everyone in each of those categories, extra large, large, medium, and small, are then going to be sent to the chairs of committee right now. So that would be the past chair, Pat Bellato, and Susan Merrigan. So Marion Thatch, I think, is the past chair. They're the ones who will get those first place winners, and then as a team, they will judge them. They will not have seen these before. They will judge them. They will put together their own scoring sheets and go through the same process that each of you have. And from that, they'll go ahead and determine the grand prize winner. And the remaining chapters will receive the first place.
Okay.
And that's it.
Well, it looks like if anybody, this is, again, if you have any other questions, I don't see any hands raised or questions typed in. Oh, wait, I have one.
Okay.
A first-time judge had just asked, how many submittals do you expect each team will get to judge? I guess just based on previous years, what's the average?
Oh, well, that depends. You know, it just really, almost every year is a little bit different. So if you're for the Striving for Excellence, the extra large chapter, it might be more than what you would get for a small chapter. And I think that, have you grouped the small and medium chapters together this year, Mary?
Yes, small and medium are one group.
Sure. So you can see maybe about 6 total submittals, but it could be very different. Sometimes, and what happened last year, and Pat, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed to me that we had fewer full Striving for Excellence submittals than we had individual programs and communications. You know, it takes a little bit more time. This year, I'm actually thinking that we might get more Striving for Excellence. There's been a lot of work done. There has been more discussions on this. There's been a lot of promotion on it. So it's just one of those things that's hard to predict. So I would expect, though, about 6. I think that that's probably a reasonable number to think of. Sometimes it's a lot more. Even on communications, they tend to have fewer submittals, both because that's for web and for newsletter. And this time I think it might be social media as well, so that'll be interesting. But I think that that's about a good number. Pat, what do you think?
I've had as small as 4 and as large as 11,
Yeah.
depending on what category I'm judging.
So as large as 11. So there you go. You might have 11 sometimes.
Yeah.
But I know it's just, you just don't know year to year.
Exactly.
The programs, I think, it tends to be the separate programs category.
Yeah.
I think tend to have higher numbers.
Especially the last couple of years, the economy's tanked. membership's been down and people haven't submitted. Now that the economy's getting a little bit better, I would assume that the membership numbers are at least equal, if not starting to increase. So I would think that more people would be submitting, at least for chapter of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. And honestly, just from where Mary and I sit at the office and hearing all the different things that our chapters are working on, there's a lot of energy and a lot of things that all of you have been working on, or all of our chapters have been working on. So that may demonstrate or give us a view into thinking how many submittals we might get. I do think that this is going to be a good year for the submittals just based on that alone. So again, that doesn't answer your question specifically. It could be, again, as high as 11 or around 6 or maybe as low as 3 or 4. It just depends. So it just hopefully you're prepared to have, you know, some secluded time, as Pat said, and you have a moment to really view them all thoroughly.
Perfect. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions or hand raised, but, you know, obviously please know that Tina and myself and Pat and Susan and Alicia, we're all here to answer questions. I sent, again, everyone the roster. You can certainly reach out to us at any time through this process, through the week that you're judging, if you have questions, especially on the membership section. I know that there's a lot of questions when looking at SFE, you know, wanting to qualify some of that information and we will be looking at these as well. But certainly if you see numbers that seem strange or maybe they're not adding up or maybe we'll certainly be looking at them to catch that, but we want to make sure we are qualifying some of the statistical information that will be given, especially in that section. So I will be going through those myself along with Tina just to make sure there's no red flags. So that's it. So we are here for you. Please reach out to us through the process. Again, we know that it's crunch time. This month is always the crunch time for SFE, but certainly we are here. So thank you all again for serving and judging. This is it's my most favorite time of the year. I love to see the creativity and the content and see what all the chapters are doing, the amazing things chapters are doing. So this is really a wonderful awards program, and we're looking forward to being able to recognize these chapters and the presidents and what they've done. So Pat or Susan or Tina, if there's nothing else, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you all, and good luck.
Thanks, Mary.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks.